Yes, I do. I do it all. But I do have a few people. We're a 5-person organization at this point. So what is working? We've done a lot of branding and marketing stuff. It's working. It's bringing calls in. We're getting that. What's not working? The volume of work. Sean doesn't sleep very much.
Now I do have to close the store.
And I'm still building my staff, and trying to get them trained to actually be able to assist. They're great at a lot of different tasks, but not a diverse task. So I need to get them to another level so that I can delegate better. So. Yeah.
Okay.
I slept a little bit last night. It's nice. It's nice.
Good for you. I get emails from this guy sometimes at like 4 in the morning. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else?
That's all I got.
All right, sounds good. All right.
Okay, my name is Mylin, and I'm the owner of a boutique agency, Banyan 360. We do web design and mobile apps.
Can you say the name of your company again?
Banyan 360, BANYAN 360 altogether.
Banyan 360. Okay.
And what's working is that we are getting lots of referrals. We're busy. Same thing like Sean. What's not working is that I don't have enough time to create my process right now because lack of sleep and just lots of emergency calls and emails from clienteles. I don't think I set my boundaries enough because I get like texts and texts and calls anytime or night. And then staffing, not enough time to train them and give, work because they keep calling me and like, hey, what else to do, so, yeah.
Okay. Great, thank you.
Hi, my name is Julie Fleming, and I am a partner to Jill, Introduction First, and my role is actually as the integrator. And I'm also a support role to Jill. I do strength finders for our clients, both teams and individuals, and then I do everything else you can think of, from finances to some marketing and all kinds of stuff that goes on in a small business.
Okay. Anything not working?
That we talk about all the time. We live in an EOS world, so I'll stay
I'll
on
probably
that.
throw the delegating. I'll throw our hat in the delegating box since we're dealing with the same exact thing. So, okay, great.
I'm Jack Carney. I'm managing partner of DeMoss Capital Partners, and probably a Jack not of all, but too many trades within my own firm. It was originally founded by 3 of us. There goes the name. It's actually Dumas, but Dumas doesn't go over well in Texas, so we're Dumas. Alexander Dumas, the author of The Three Musketeers, my 2 founding partners and I. One who's retired, one who's deceased. We're fans of The Three Musketeers, so we named it Dumas. What isn't working? Right now, we are very successful directly marketing to the owners of businesses because they're really our target audience. The problem is that we do it asystematically because when we're marketing, we're not closing transactions, and we're closing transactions, we're not marketing. So the classic small business problem is that we direct sales or direct marketing works well, but we don't do it systematically. Referrals are probably 40 to 45% of our overall revenue. The primary source of referrals will be attorneys and consultants and direct salespeople who know about us. But once again, that's kind of a lumpy, asystematic sort of activity, or at least the revenue we generate is asystematic from it. We are very good at outsourcing roles. At this point, we don't have any employees other than me. But I work on a routine basis with outside people to help me close transactions, market transactions, and close transactions. Probably one of the nicest things, and I almost hate to admit this, is it is fairly expensive in this market to hire fairly qualified financial analysts, $50,000, $60,000, and most of our income is on a contingent fee basis. So, for example, a week ago, we just closed a transaction and earned a $300,000 fee, and that client was a client for 9 or 10 months. They pay a $25,000 retainer, and then there's no income until we close a transaction. If we don't close a transaction, that's not good. So hiring people has always been something, or having employees has always been something that kind of, disturbs me or challenges me. And so I lose probably more sleep over the fact that, you know, I don't want to risk bringing somebody on full board and then maybe having to say at some point, I'm sorry, this isn't, you know, cash flow doesn't warrant me paying you $5,000 a month because we haven't closed the transaction yet. Different really than your billing cycle. Yeah. And so that's probably one of the challenges that I have. One of the real issues is, you know, when do I, you know, really grow up and hire somebody full time? Right now, I have a remarkable investment banking analyst that I pay $1,800 a month, and he happens to be located just outside of Mumbai, India. And he is phenomenal. And so that, you know, he is great at a very low cost, but I also feel bad about not hiring somebody locally to work with me, so staff. And probably the biggest issue I think about is my income is over years is very high, but I really haven't built a valuable firm, because literally if Jack gets hit by a truck, there is no firm. And so that's one of the things I think about, and one of the things I really, you know, in looking at this sort of process is to help me go from a whole series of outsourced or insourced relationships to really building a company that has sustainable value if Jack Carney's not there.
Thank you. Okay, all right, Joe, your turn. No, oh.
I'll let you, can you figure out where I am?
Maybe.
Big screen on the side.
Oh boy, there we go.
Move it up and down.
Jill
Yes, yes, okay.
Yeah, you did? Okay.
There
Joe
you
Payton.
go.
So I founded the GeniusDen. I've got a real estate investment group that is basically made up of small, high net worth private investors who put money passively into my real estate deals. Bought this building in August 2014, toured into it for 9 months, and we launched 1 month ago and 1 week ago here as GeniusDen, as a business incubator. What's working is we found the building, we built it out. As a matter of fact, we have another building under contract, or we're going to close on the 30th of this month, so we're going to double in square footage, which is frightening because what's not working at this point is tenants. Our model as a business incubator is that we're not taking a part of someone's company. We're not taking equity at this point. They're just paying rent. So we're just taking in rent as our way of covering our expenses, making it a business model. So we need to figure out how to acquire customers better. I would say our interest in doing that is programs, speakers, events that get them in the door, and then build a relationship and sort of move them into where are you officing now. You know, I'm home. My target is a 35-year-old, probably guy with corporate experience with an app, or maybe a small team that they could be dispersed. You know, people working in their houses or at a noisy coffee shop. I try not to think that my customers at a co-working space that they might be, because I like to think that with 7 million people in Dallas, we don't need to like poach each other's customers. They're happy there, stay there, come in for an event, but go back there. I think our people are leaving a company, they're in an executive suite that's sterile, they want to come in here. So I got to figure out how to make the right noise that attracts that customer to come in, or my tenant to come in and become a member of the GeniusDen. We're still putting all those pieces together.
Awesome. Anything else?
Well, it's very vague, but you know, generally speaking, how to implement the right, how to identify and implement the right action plan for, I'm guessing, but if it's events, it's the right kinds of events and programs.
Okay,
That's it.
good. All right, sounds good. Now, some of you know, just kind of give me a quick raise of hands, nod of the head if you've read the book, you know the system a little bit. I know you do. I know you do. Mylin?
I just bought it last night.
Okay, awesome. Fresh.
I just ordered 2 days ago. I ordered a hard copy
So
from
we're
Amazon.
fresh, good. I want to make
So
sure
it's
that
on
I'm
its
not
way.
using too much lingo and just throwing it out there if we're all pretty fresh.
And what's the book?
Joe, this book.
For the
Oh, for the camera, I'm like,
For the viewers at home.
Yes.
Introduction by Gina Wickman. Have you read this book?
I have.
Okay. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I have, this is kind of how these sessions will work. So we all check in and we say, kind of give some ideas of what's not working in our business, and we actually build an issues list. So this is what you'll do as you start to live within the EOS life within your company also. So I'm gonna take 2 seconds, maybe 30, and describe to you what an issues list is. You're going to use this issues list throughout your whole entire life with EOS, but think about an issues list as a parking lot. It's a parking lot for all of your obstacles, your barriers, but it's also a parking lot for all of your 2 a.m. wild thoughts that you have, right? We're gonna put plants up there. You put it on an issues list so that you don't forget that awesome idea. So it's barriers, obstacles, ideas, opportunities for maybe a new session for people to get in. And it just lets your brain relax a little bit and focus. I heard a lot of you say you had a hard time focusing on getting traction in your business, moving the company forward. So we'll talk a lot about those things. But it's just a parking lot. It's a perpetual list. And you actually you start to solve these issues throughout the week. And maybe I'll get to a part where you'll see where we solve those issues. But I encourage you today, even if it's in your notebook, if it's on a Google Doc that you can share with some people, whatever it is, start that issues list today. And nothing comes off the issues list until it's solved. Okay? It can stay there. And there can be 100 things on that issues list. No big deal. We just start whittling it down. So that's how I'm going to run these sessions. We will make an issues list together, and then we'll decide what our hot topics are, and then we'll go from there. And we'll work until about 10 o'clock, and it is 9:24. So we're just going to start solving some of these issues for you. So I wrote down a few things that I saw kind of that a lot of people had in common. And so I'm going to suggest that we do a few things. Number one, I want to talk about rocks. And rocks are what we call our hot priorities in a 90-day world. So that's one of our options, so rocks. Another option for us to do is to introduce you the Delegate and Elevate tool. So I think, Joe, do you have people working for you?
Ad hoc consultants.
Okay, and just like Jack does, right?
Yep.
Consultants, and you guys definitely have people working for you. And I know Julie has people working for her, right? So we could use
your first assistant.
That's right. So we could spend some time on the Delegate and Elevate tool today, and then I also will talk about the difference between vision and traction. I think that will help align all of you around moving forward. So really, those are the 3 top tools that I pulled out of this issues list. Does one of them resonate with you better than the others? Rocks?
Do we have time for just one?
We might get through several. We just kind
I
of.
like rocks, but that's just
Okay.
me. What do you guys
Yeah,
do?
cool with it.
Mylin?
Yes. Yes? Okay, so we're going to do rocks first. Then what's next? What do you like out of these 3? After we get done with rocks, what one do you want to go to?
I think I should do delegate.
Okay. And
Hear a lot of
3 for traction. So I might actually just reprioritize for us a little bit because I want you to have this principle in your mind before we go to rocks. I think rocks will make a lot more sense if we do this. So let me, Mylin, I'm going to give you one of these. We don't always work from these. Jack, do you have one or do you want a new one?
If I can get one,
Okay.
yes. The one you gave me the other day is up in my
It's
office,
the same
sitting on my
thing.
desk.
Joe, you
Sure.
gave yours to Sean, so here, you take one. Open it up to that very first page that says the EOS model. And the EOS model, basically what the whole book talks about is that to the degree you can focus on 6 key components of your business is going to go farther, faster. But what I really want to talk about today in these 6 key components is the vision and the traction piece and how they work together. So we absolutely have to have clear vision in our company. We need to know where we're going and how we're going to get there, who we are, what we stand for, all of those great things. So we absolutely have to have vision, everybody rowing together in the same direction for the good of the company. We have to have great people. We need to measure with data. So these are the other key components. I'm running through real fast. We've got to be able to solve issues. We need to run our company on processes. But then that last one there is traction. And traction is we need to be getting things done every day. So now I just want to take a key component out of that is how vision and traction work together. So if you've got your vision up here and your traction down here, the problem with most companies, and especially founders, and Joe, you know this, I think, because you're experiencing it and you work with people like this, is we have tons of vision. We've got ideas, we've met people, we can see how things will match together, we can visualize this great company, product, service, whatever it is, but the problem is we have a hard time bringing it down to the ground and actually doing things with it every day. And you're not alone. This is why most businesses go out of business in the first year or the first 2 years. So if you have a lot of vision and not a lot of traction, that's called hallucination. We're just hallucinating. And then here's the other thing, Jack, you had mentioned you have partners, and I know, Joe, just from talking with you, you've had partners and investors and all of this. What happens when we're not all aligned around our vision? We've got lots of vision, but it's not aligned. It's really hard to gain any traction at all because you don't know where you're going. Okay? Now, that's the difference between vision and traction this way, but there's also a phenomenon that works the other way, and I think you guys are probably experiencing this. Maybe not so much, but let me describe it to you, and you might go, oh yeah, that might be what's happening. And you too, Jack, you said you're getting lots of referrals, but there's no system in place. So a lot of companies have a lot of traction. We're getting a lot of referrals. We have a lot of business. We're running our company on, what does the customer need today? You had kind of said emergency things, right? They need this, and so we just react to it. React. And we're doing a lot of business. We're closing deals, right? We're bringing on people to serve our clients, but we're just working from day to day. We have a lot of traction because we're bringing customers in and they're paying their bills and going out the door and they're happy, but we're not having a lot of vision. We don't know exactly where we're going with that. When somebody says, hey, will you build me an app or will you build me a website? Yep, we'll do that. And we're excited to do that because it's business, right? It's revenue. So we want to do it, and every business does it, but this is called traction. Without vision is called randomness. Oh, hey, Joe, we don't do any texting during sessions. Sorry.
Okay. I was actually getting somebody here.
Okay, so last time. That's all right. I'm a little stickler for that, right? We've got to stay focused. Okay. So traction without vision is just called randomness. And you will be pulled in all kinds of different directions, and pretty soon you're going to follow a direction because there's lots of revenue there, and you're going to go, wait, I never intended to be here. This is not what I intended to do, right? And then you're frustrated with your business. It's not what you thought it was. So we need to have a clearly defined vision. We've got to have then a plan to get to that vision, and then we execute on it. We have to execute on it, and that's where we get to the rocks, okay? So any questions about this? Any comments or feelings like, aha, okay, that is what I'm doing. Yes? Yes. And that's just typical, right? It's not right or wrong, it just is. This is what happens most of the time. But now that we're aware of it, what's happening, we can be a little more focused on our vision, align that traction with our vision. Okay, so let's get down to the principle of rocks. So, when a lot of you were talking about, hey, I don't have a lot of time, I don't have a lot of sleep, I'm not very good at delegating, I know I should delegate, I'm following these emergencies, where am I going to set my boundaries, staffing, training, a system for our sales. What happened is I kind of thought, you know what, I think if everybody can focus on some high priorities, I think a lot of this is going to go away. So rocks, the principle of rocks is a tool we use under the traction key component. I'm just going to explain it to you. And then we'll see if we can maybe make some rocks for ourselves for the next quarter. So this is where the word rocks comes from. if you have an empty cylinder here, a glass cylinder, and you are given some rocks and some pebbles and some sand and some water, and your challenge is to fit all of this into the glass cylinder. Well, if you start with the pebbles, and then you add the water and sand, and then you try to fit these rocks in here, the rocks are not going to fit. They're too big. They won't fit. They'll end up sticking out the top, and you can't put them in there. It's a great little science experiment about volumes and settling and all of this stuff. But the principle here is, if you will put your rocks into the cylinder first, then the pebbles, then the sand, and then the water, everything is going to fit. So how does this relate to our lives? We look at this cylinder as all of the time we have available during the day, right? Now, business owners, sometimes when you've had a job where you've worked from 9 to 5, and now you're going to open a business, and you think, well, now I'm going to run my business from 9 to 5. And then you have a rude awakening that, oh, wow, I'm working from 6 a.m. to midnight, right? So whatever this availability is of your day, that's what it is. Right now, mine fills about 16 hours, right? So whatever this is, these right here are your high priorities. These rocks are your highest priorities. We'll talk about that a little more. The pebbles represent just everything that falls within your role, right? The sand represents all of your distractions, and the water is everything else. So when you can get very laser focused on focusing on your priorities, everything else will fit. Everything else will fit. That's the principle of rocks. So now how do we, yes, thank you.
The rocks are usually not urgent things, but they're very important, but they're not urgent, so we never get to them. Because we're always, the sand and the pebbles are coming at us, and so we don't ever get to our non-urgent things.
That's right. Those are things that would constantly get pushed to the back burner. Well, I can't do that today because I've got to go, open the building because somebody needed to be there at 6:30, right? So I can't have this breakfast meeting with this person who's, right? And you just push things off because these other urgent things come up. And it's just human tendency. But now we'll really get laser focused around it. The rocks also, moving off of Julie's comment, and this is what I do with my clients, is I encourage them to make their rocks priorities that will move their company forward forever. So instead, here, it's a really good example. Let's say you have somebody sitting in the finance seat and they say, well, this quarter my rock is to get the tax return done for the company. That's not a rock. It just lives within your role. That's just something that you have to do. Something that would be a rock for them would to be, redefine the accounts payable process and automate it. That's a rock. It's moving the company forward forever, okay? Really building the foundations of your company. And when you start a company, that's the most important thing that you need to focus on, is building that strong foundation so that someday you're not doing everything. You're starting to elevate yourself, okay? So I'm going to describe to you now the process that we go through to actually create these rocks. So turn your page and you're going to see a 2-page document. And that 2-page document is our Vision Traction Organizer. And this actually is your strategy for your company in 2 pages, because everything we do at EOS is simple. We don't do anything fluffy. Everything we get the biggest bang for our buck. So look down at the second page is where we're going to focus today. And what you'll notice is that we have a 1-year plan. We have a space there for a 1-year plan. And in that 1-year plan, what you do is you get your leadership team, or even yourself, if it's just you put yourself in a room, lock yourself in a room for 2 hours and really focus and think to yourself, what are the most important things I need to get done this year? What absolutely has to happen this year? And of course, we want that aligned with your 3-year picture and your 10-year target. Those are on the top page there. But what is it that we have to get done this year that is absolutely the most important things to get done so that we can reach those long-term goals? And once you have that good 1-year plan, now you're just breaking it down into bite-sized chunks. And that's what we do in EOS. We live in a 90-day world because humans, we can't stay focused farther than 90 days. right? It's hard for me to stay focused farther than 2 weeks, but that's why Julie and I are a really good team. So we live in a 90-day world, and that's where we take our 1-year plan and we break it down into nice bite-sized little chunks, and we call those our quarterly rocks. Now your quarterly rocks absolutely have to feed into your 1-year plan, or you're not going to get to your 1-year plan. Does that make sense? You don't want to have little projects sitting out here that aren't supporting that 1-year plan. So it's all a funnel. And you ask yourself, in this self, number one, what is the end of my quarter? So if we're sitting here today and it's April 15th, then our quarter would be maybe July 15th. So just for kicks, just write that date in there. By July 15th, what will I get done? And I have digital forms of all of these tools, so you can feel free to write on this and scribble all over it. And then you would decide, what do I want my revenue to be? What do I want my profit to be? And I'm going to skip the line of measurables just because we all have different industries. And then you decide, what are the most important things that I've got to get done in the next 90 days in order to hit that 1-year target, right? So Joe, for you, it might be 10 tenants. I don't know what it's going to be. It might be to, hire a marketing department. It might, Jack, for you, it might be, solidify relationships with one other financial analyst, right? So you have it. So that's how you create your quarterly rocks. Now, the other thing about your quarterly rocks is you have to be able to measure them, because we can't just say to ourselves, hey, I want to have more tenants, right? There's no measurement in that. What exactly do we want to have? So you might have seen this before, but we always make our rocks SMART. So specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. SMART. So I'll do that one more time. Specific, measurable, attainable, which is really like realistic, but there's already an R in there. Relevant, and timely. Now, if you've done your vision traction organizer well, then your rocks are always going to be relevant, because remember I said they have to feed the 1-year plan. They can't be something that's unattached to the 1-year plan. They all need to feed the 1-year plan, and they're always going to be timely because you've already just set a date for yourself, because we're living in a 90-day world. So really think about these 3 things: specific, measurable, and attainable. It's really no fun to make goals for yourself or rocks for yourself that are not attainable. So be realistic. The teams that I start working with, I push them. I'm like, can you really get this done in 90 days? Oh, yeah, we totally can. And then they come back the next quarter and they're like, oh yeah, that wasn't very realistic. So they start to learn, oh, okay, this is how much I can get done in a quarter. And then always, if you want to take a little note, always make sure that those rocks are moving your company forward forever. So really establishing processes would be great. Training on processes, those are good rocks. Staffing, I allow my clients to use staffing as a rock if they've never had that role before. If they're adding a brand new role into the company and they're defining it and putting new measurables to that, then adding a staff member can definitely be a rock. Okay, maybe delegating. What kind of questions do you have for me around the concept of rocks? The principle here is that you now stay laser focused on those. You have to check back in with yourself or your leadership team at least once a week, and you report to each other, this rock is either on track or off track. So if you're working on your own, or even with consultants that you don't report back and forth together, at least have a weekly meeting with yourself. It's called the Level 10 meeting. It's one of our tools. It's in the book. But it gives you a chance to take that clarity break for yourself and say, am I on track with these rocks? Am I going to meet my goal by July 15th? Or am I off track? And if you're off track, take conscious effort to think, what do I need to get back on track? Because this is building the foundation of your business. Sometimes when we are, Jack, you spoke to this in your check-in, you feel like you need to move from the space of being an employee, self-employed, right? Self-employed right now. You don't get a paycheck from anybody. You eat what you kill, right? But you're just you, essentially. If you get hit by a bus, there's nothing that's going to your family. There's no, you can't sell it, right? You might be able to bring an investor in now, but that's it. So we just call that, you are self-employed. And how do we move from self-employed to a business? You start focusing on processes, you start delegating and elevating, you start having an accountability chart, you start building it out, you build a leadership team so that it is something that you can sell someday. But focusing on these rocks and that foundation of your company makes it so your company, so Sean McBride Law Firm and GeniusDen and Dumas Capital, and I forgot the name of your company already, Banyan, right? Banyan 360. Your company should be your first client. So if you start getting focused on, oh, you know, I can't focus on my rock because I've got to take care of this client over here, think of your company as your first client. We absolutely have to get that done or we won't be able to serve the client very well. We'll always just stay self-employed. And that's not a place where you want to stay. You need to move to become a business. So does everybody feel like you can create some rocks today? You probably won't create them here, but maybe I would encourage you to go home and just say, what are those most important things that we need to do? So with my clients in their first session, we just set raw rocks. We don't have a one-year plan to start with because it is it's a muscle that you need to build to stay focused on priorities. So the first session, we always just set some practice rocks. So maybe try to do that for yourself today. Just set some practice rocks. Don't try to think I've got to have this big one-year plan and 10-year target before I start focusing on living in a world, that 90-day world where we really focus on priorities. Just try to exercise that muscle, okay? And Joe has a lot of good ideas written down there for his rocks. Good job. All right, so that is the principle of rocks. I think that will help you focus more. Should we move on to delegate and elevate? The delegate and elevate tool? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. At any time, ask questions, because this is your time to have me. Let me grab a new sheet here. So this is your delegate and elevate tool. Before I describe it, when do we use it? Well, the first time we're going to use the Delegate and Elevate tool is for yourself. And I'm going to show you the tool today, and then you can go ahead and take it home. I have a digital form for this as well. But you're going to use this throughout your life. And you use the Delegate and Elevate tool when you are hitting the ceiling. So let me explain what hitting the ceiling looks like. So hitting the ceiling can happen on 3 different levels. We can hit the ceiling individually. We can hit the ceiling as a department. We can hit the ceiling as a company. So most people think that when we start a company, right, it grows like this. We all know it's slow the first couple of years. We plan for that. We plan to have operating capital so that we can live during that. You know, sometimes we live where we work. I'm just saying. that was you, Joe. Giggle. He's got a great apartment back there. It is so awesome. But what a great idea. So it grows. That's right. And then there you go. He made us smoothies.
Go to sleep in the office, make it a nice office.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So we know it grows slow, and then we just think, here it goes, right? And if you maybe looked at it over time, maybe that's kind of what companies look like. But if you really dig into it, what happens is there's times in your life, in the life of your business, where it'll do this, right? You get a whole bunch of customers, but oh my gosh, we don't know how to serve them. We don't have enough people, we don't have good processes, and we're working like crazy, and then maybe they leave because we dropped the ball, right? And then we find a great new contractor, and then he wants a ton more money because he sees we're making bank, and then he leaves. And so it's just, and we can't break past this little ceiling right here. We don't know how to do it. We don't have the tools, we don't have the skills, what is going on? And so a lot of companies right there then will just go out of business. It's like, okay, this is not for me. I am not an entrepreneur, and I just stop. And that's when we see a lot of companies go out of business. But this happens a lot throughout the life cycle of your company, and we just, at EOS, we call it hitting the ceiling. So how do you avoid hitting the ceiling? There's a few leadership abilities that we talk about, but one of them is we delegate. We have to live in a world where we are constantly pushing items down the accountability chart. And when you guys read the book, you're gonna know what I'm talking about. Accountability charts, like an org chart, but it's on steroids, okay? So we're grooming people to take the next level in the company. So we always have our mind on training. We always have our mind on growing people and bringing them up through the company. So when we use the delegate and elevate tool, we use it, number one, when we feel like we're hitting the ceiling, either personally, as a department, as a company, any one of those different ways. Are you texting again?
I'm bringing this guy in.
Joe! All right.
People
okay,
this is about you.
Here we go. So we live by the principle that we don't text during meetings. All right, so here's the delegate and elevate tool. It is just a simple grid.
He's just down the block. I just gotta get him to get his ass down here.
Get him down here. So the delegate and elevate tool, you can maybe find a blank sheet. There's a notes page. The delegate and elevate tool is not in this book. It's one of our bonus tools that we use.
Secret.
Yeah, it's a secret.
First page, yeah.
I have extra paper.
And I will prepare this. Not.
Is this an EOS tool?
Oh yeah. So in EOS we have the foundational tools that are all in the book, and then we have about 20 other tools that we just, it's a grab bag that we use when the clients need them. Not good. And so this is what you do, and first you're going to do this with use this tool with yourself, but I want you to also have the frame of mind that you're going to be able to use this tool with all of your employees for as long as you live. When your employees come to you and go, oh my gosh, I can't stand it. I've got to stay here till 7 o'clock every night, and I don't know how to get all my work done, and blah, blah, blah. You just go, okay, cool. Let's sit down, let's do this tool together. And you take all of your tasks that you're doing throughout the day, and you put them into one of these 4 quadrants. You are great at this task, and you love it. It goes in this quadrant, okay? So everybody, you are good at this task, and you like it. Okay, so it's just a step down from this, right? You are good at this task, but you don't like it. And you're not good at this task, and you don't like it. So just everybody just try to think of one thing in each one of the 4 quadrants right now, just so you can start practicing using the tool. When I use this tool with clients, I like them to put at the top of their page, we delegate everything but genius. Hey, GeniusDen. So we delegate everything but Genius. Now, can you delegate everything but Genius today? No. You've got to just start where you are. And so this tool right here, when you get it kind of fleshed out, and I do this tool for myself. In fact, Julie told me 2 days ago, okay, Jill, do the delegate and elevate tool. And so I did. I sat there for about 30 minutes. And I did that, and it's like, okay, now I prioritize, and now that's what we move to the assistant, right? But it's in a very thoughtful way. We've planned it out. So this is how you delegate. Everything in this quadrant goes first. So this is who you need. This maybe determines maybe what your next hire is going to look like. Everything you're not good at and you don't like. Tons of entrepreneurs find that their accounting tasks go in here. All right, then it's time to hire an outsourced bookkeeper, right? All of their legal stuff goes in here. It's time to have an attorney do this, right? We're not going to do our legal Zoom anymore because it's getting us in trouble, right? We call Sean. So these things a lot of times can be outsourced as well. Okay, so that goes first. Everything in this quadrant goes next. And here's the thing. Sometimes this quadrant is really awesome. It kind of gives us some good insight into people, because if you're good at something and you don't like it, it probably is not in your strength, and you're spending if you think you're good at it but you don't like it, you're probably spending way too much time getting results out of the tasks in this category because you're frustrated with yourself because you don't like it. So you're probably not as good at it as you think you are. Okay? And then of course what you would like to do is elevate yourself. So that's why the tool is called delegate. So this is everything we delegate. And elevate yourself to here. This is where you're going to get the most bang for your buck. I hope you're thinking about your company as its own entity. You are an employee of that company, and so you have a fiduciary responsibility to make sure that the company is getting their most bang for their buck out of your services, right? If I have a client who he was saying, oh, I've got this big thing, and he was calling me doing that, I'm hitting the ceiling thing. I'm like, well, what are you doing right now? And he says, well, first I got to stop at Tom Thumb and get some water for the office. I'm like, really? You haven't delegated getting the water for the office yet. And he was just not getting the most bang for his buck out of his own time, right? He's the genius of the company. That's where you should be spending your most time. So you're moving yourself into a place where you're living within your unique ability. So living within your unique ability. So I would encourage you to use this tool for any of your delegating tasks, and maybe, this is something that Julie always says to our clients too, maybe you can't delegate right now, but doing this tool is going to help your vision get more aligned as to what you need next. That next hire that you're going to make sure they're here. Don't hire another genius, right? You can keep the genius. You can have the genius up here. Get this stuff off of your plate first. And it's usually
it really helps when you do go to interview, because we always want to hire the genius because they're flashier and they come in. But when you stay focused on this is actually what I'm trying to hire for, and then you make a much better hire.
And that would lead us into right people in the right seats. Okay, any questions about the delegate and elevate tool? No? All right, so we have 5 minutes left. So if there's anything else that is a burning question in your mind, I'm happy to answer it. Oh, sorry, I got out of the frame shot. I would be happy to answer it. If not, then we'll just kind of do our little conclusion here.
Is there, at this stage, a correlation between the rocks we develop and like this quadrant, not good, don't like, or the second quadrant, good, don't like?
Very good.
Does it make sense that those become among our rocks?
That's a really
This
good.
next quarter?
So that's really good insight. So everything in EOS, I look at it like gears. Okay, so they're not puzzle pieces. So we have lots of tools. We have foundational tools and toolbox tools and all this, but they're gears. And when one turns, the other turns. And so that is just a perfect insight, because now you're kind of seeing how all of the tools are working together. That would be something perfect. Do do this fully, right? Because you've spent, 15 minutes on it, but really spend some time with yourself. And then maybe it is, maybe that rock is outsourcing the accounting, right? From this piece, so that would be great. Make sure it moves the company forward forever. Now I'm kind of giving you advanced EOS, so, but then just, and once you set your rocks, call me and say, hey, is this a good rock? I'd be happy to say, yes, try this, maybe push you a little bit further, I'd be happy to do that.
Well, and I think also if you have a rock and it's landing in that quadrant and you're actually doing it yourself and you're not outsourcing it, that might be a clue that you're just not gonna elevate yourself if you don't start making these changes about what you're spending your time on. So, yeah.
So I've got some stuff here, and I don't know how far along I am because it's floating around and it seems to land on this page. Would it be beneficial to everyone if we went through that really quick and you critiqued what I've got?
Sure. Yep. So
I'd be happy to hear it.
So and we probably don't. If we can go past 10, I'm fine to go past 10.
Yeah.
But I'm a real stickler of start on time, end on time.
It's 9:57.
So
Do you
what
want to
is
go
everybody?
10:05?
I can do
Feel like-
10:05.
Can you do
Yeah.
10:05?
Yeah, 10:05.
All right. Let's do it. Joe, do you want to go first?
Well, I'll just kind of go with it right here, and you can tell me
Okay.
how we're
All
doing.
right.
So what do you want me to look at first, issues or rocks?
Let's look at rocks because we spent time on that tool.
Okay, so
Okay.
our goal in the one-year plan is $20,000 a month at 30% profit.
Okay.
Our goals for the year are to fill GeniusDen capacity, our full program schedule, and a program manager / community manager.
Okay. So you've got a new hire in there that you've never had before.
So he or she
Okay.
will run, and it's probably typically like a 30-year-old woman who's got like commercial leasing experience, knows how to
Okay.
connect with people and understands things like high-level finance.
Okay,
and
so
can say, "Let's
he's
connect."
delegated and elevated, right? So
Right.
he's taken himself out of that piece. That day-to-day following up with people, hey, are you gonna come
Well,
in and do
people
you wanna
floating
do
around
this?
and they want to meet
Uh-huh.
somebody, oh, I know a guy who needs, so they're like a connector.
Yeah,
Right,
awesome.
they also handle like operational level stuff.
Okay, so I like that one because he's never had that position before, so that's a good, and this is his 1-year plan, okay? All
So,
right?
getting down to the first
Yep.
quarter here, you said July 14th? Okay.
Just 90 days from
90
today.
days from today. So that would be $6,000 a month, 10% profit, or
Nice.
possibly zero profit.
That's
because
right, because you're still
expenses.
growing.
10 members, all the offices full, they'll probably be the most popular, they're also high revenue and
Okay.
consistent $800 a month. So
Nice.
that would be
That would be
six
getting close
offices
to
at
your
800.
6,000 a
So
month.
there's 4,800
Okay.
plus the back
Mhm.
would get us there, so I think that's
Okay.
achievable. So we need to finish the website,
Okay.
and that's Song and Eric.
Okay, so
we need to
right
vote.
here, quick
Oh,
mistake you made,
Yep.
which is fine. So
Right.
when we make mistakes, we all learn, right? He put 2 people in charge of that route.
Well,
So only one person can drive it.
Eric's doing the back end and Song's doing the front
Okay,
end. They're
but
working
guess
as a
what?
team.
They're
Okay.
working as a team, but
So-
when 2
Okay.
people are accountable, nobody's accountable, so one person
I'll give it to-
drives it.
I'll give it to
Yep.
Song then.
Now he's gonna say to the other guy, okay, when are we meeting?
Yeah.
How is this
Okay.
collaboration going? That's fine, but one person drives it.
Got it.
Okay,
So
with your
Song's
rocks.
driving it.
Okay,
Book 3 speakers, that's
Okay.
Joe. Hire the community manager, that's
Nice.
Joe. Build out social media distribution platform and content calendar.
all right, so those are rocks.
Those are
Are they
Joe's.
all moving the company forward forever?
Big time, yes.
The only reason I would say I would leave that book 3 speakers in there, because you're gonna book 3 speakers this quarter, and then next quarter, and then next quarter, is because you haven't done it yet. Does that make sense?
Okay.
You have not started into, because right here, I would say book 3 speakers and document the process for booking speakers.
Ah,
Okay, that's
Got
moving
it.
the company forward forever. So that next quarter, he can hand that process, hey, this is the best way to get best speakers, to the community manager.
okay.
And then you don't have to reinvent the
Booking
wheel all the
speakers is my
time.
job.
That's right.
Documenting and building a methodology is.
That's the rock
what was-
around it.
Okay.
Okay, so that's moving the company
Book
forward.
speakers, document the process.
Our websites are never finished, right? Because that's our digital brochure these
Got it.
days.
Yeah.
So I would say, I would just make that a little more specific. Like, I want these pages like presentable and ready to push,
Okay,
publish,
so I'm gonna
right?
say event calendar.
Mhm. And then a
Okay.
few other things on specifics. So content calendar, what does that mean? So, and you kind of get into some what if games. So if Joe comes to us on July 15th and says, I completed my rock, it's content calendar, and we look at it and it's a scribbled note, right, on the back of a piece of paper, that's not your content calendar. So make it specific, challenging enough for yourself that says, you know, it's online, it's, you know, we know every topic built out for the 12 months, whatever that is to you. Make it specific for yourself so you know what done looks like. What will you be happy with at the end of 90 days?
Okay.
Hey, does that help?
So online with content. And then
There you
issues
go.
list is my website, social media and updating our ads, our advertising, like social media ads, on Facebook ads, Twitter ads, that kind of thing. Media package, PR announcements and news releases. So as we get a speaker in, then we'll put out to the news, so-and-so great person's coming.
So
to
these
speak.
are things
Gina
that,
Wickman is coming to
there you
speak.
go, that's right. These are things that we don't yet know the solution to. And so things that go on your issues list can just be like raw data. They don't have to be clearly identified. It's just this random thought or this random thing that's bugging me, right? Like, I want to paint the brick walls. Well, we don't need to know what color or when we're going to do it. It's just at some point I know I want to paint the brick wall. Does that make sense? So random raw data can go in that issues list. Okay, awesome. Thank you. All right, who wants to go next? Going to the left, we go to
Oh,
Sean.
we're actually gonna, we're all gonna do this?
If you'd like to.
Sure.
And why don't you do your rocks for us?
Okay.
Let's narrow it to rocks.
My 3 rocks. My rocks are actually somewhat similar to Joe's, believe it or not. All right, so web page update, and I made it more specific, which is we're getting our new events calendar and speaking calendar
Okay,
launched
good.
onto our
So
web
who's
page.
doing
We're close to
specific?
completion on that, but it has to be done this quarter.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get up to having 1 speaking engagement booked per month. Right now, I'm running
Okay.
about two. Right now, well, excuse me, 4 per month, 1 per week. Right now, I'm
Okay.
running about 2 per month. I need to get things implemented, and I'm working on it. But
Okay.
implement
Uh-huh.
more things so that I'm constantly booking 4 speaking engagements per month.
Okay.
And then I need to build my staff to the point where they're ready for delegation. And I'm in charge of all 3 of these.
Okay. And those are all yours.
They're all mine.
So with the building the staff, I would
Yeah.
just add, build the accountability chart.
Yeah.
Use that tool first, and
Yeah.
that will really help you to know exactly how you want to build the staff.
Gotcha. Perfect.
All right, Mylin, what do you have for your rocks?
I was writing a lot of
That's
notes.
okay, that's fine. If you, and again, this is a point where you can share or you cannot share. And did you say you just got the book last night? This is
Late
probably
last
like,
night.
this is like fire hose on you. You're like, wait, what?
I read
That's
the, I read the reviews.
Good, okay, there you go. That's a great way to jump in, a great way to jump in.
Can she just
3
borrow-
months from now, you'll be running the thing,
Can she
so.
just borrow our rocks and just take our rocks?
Yeah, just take our rocks. We'll hand you rocks. Oh, by the way, you never give people rocks. They always have to have buy-in, because you take this concept of rocks now, and once you master it, you take it to everybody else. So eventually, everyone in the company is gonna have a rock that's moving the company forward forever. Wow, what does that company look like? That's awesome. Your new community manager, she'll have rocks to move the company forward forever. And so that people aren't just living in their role every day, we're constantly moving toward that vision. It's gonna be awesome, but they have to have buy-in. It's not a, hey, this is your rock this quarter. It's,
There's a
What are we
psychological
gonna do?
thing, if you say, this is gonna be my rock versus like, dump,
yeah,
there's your rock.
there you go, assignment type of thing. Okay? Mylene, do you have any questions or anything like that? Or
No,
you just like, cool, okay.
No, you're actually writing everything in.
Okay,
So-
all right, good. And Jack?
Mine, I've got 3 here. Hire a part-time analyst and put them on a track to licensure. Our industry, you know, Sean is in a highly regulated industry. I'm in a much more highly regulated industry because we're FINRA licensed. And as I explained, our business model is to charge retainers, but most of the compensation is as a result of contingent fees. I cannot offer a bonus on a transaction to an unlicensed person. In fact, that's
Yeah.
illegal.
Okay,
Very
so
much.
that's great.
So that's
We
what
have
we do.
we have the same issue.
So
We can't
he's-
share legal fees with non-lawyers.
Right, so he
Right.
is then creating this rock, he's seen the vision, right?
Right.
That I gotta pay this guy something, we've gotta probably pay a bonus, it's gotta be licensed, so now his rock is to make sure
Right.
he's moving this person toward licensure.
Right, and it's not, you know, I mean, the Series 79 is regarded as the hardest test at FINRA. But a good, someone with a finance degree and, you know, from major university could probably do that. So, but I have to get them licensed in order to shift them from a steady salary to one that's provides bonuses or commissions of any kind. I have a website almost ready to be launched. I need it actually approved by my broker dealer.
That's right.
And so I need to get that done. And
State
enforce that.
bar approval
But see
process.
that-
you wanna get
yeah.
that,
Yeah,
right.
right.
It's gotta be ready, and then it's gotta go off for approval.
And then something I haven't done before, and I actually asked the two of you about in emails, is really the speaker engagements. Talking to Janet, haven't committed to Janet in any way yet. I've gotten your feedback. I'd like to get yours.
Okay.
But in case anybody down in Deep Ellum needs speakers, I might want to talk to them.
Yeah, same.
Okay.
If somebody needs three
So let
speakers
me,
in a quarter.
let me make a comment, let me make a comment around the speaking engagement.
Yeah.
If it's just speak 12 times in this quarter, that's not a rock.
Right.
But what you both identified very clearly was create that process, that's something, right?
Yeah.
Where you are, it's perpetual. You don't have to work on it anymore. Does that make sense?
That's right.
And that's your rock.
Yeah,
Is getting that perpetual
There's gonna be
system
some
in.
maintenance in there, but to
Sure.
get the kind of, to get the incoming referrals,
Right, and where,
get the things fueling more
target it
speaking
and-
engagements, exactly, that's my
okay,
goal.
Yeah.
the fuel for it. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't even
Great.
thinking about the speaking engagement process. I was thinking about results
Yep.
from speaking
Okay, good.
engagements.
So
One
it's the-
new client at
Yeah.
board or something like
It's
that.
the, so,
is
but
what I'm more interested in.
it's the process is gonna be your rock, because that's gonna move your company forward forever.
Okay.
And then just within your role, after that, it's just gonna live.
Mhm.
Maybe that becomes your measurable,
Okay,
is
there's the-
I
there's
need
the
to speak
results.
once a month. And that's part of your
Okay,
scorecard.
okay.
We can get into. All right. Well, thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
What I'd like you to do to just check out real quick